Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar. Taking a look at some various sports stories that are going on that are a little bit off the radar. Get this music down here in just a second so we can get into some of these stories. All right, let's start off with Bishop Sycamore.
Hell of a school, great program on ESPN, man. National brand.
Fantastic. Well, Bishop Sycamore is the fake team, the fake program, and the fake school that was able to appear on national television a couple of days ago. Played 2 games in 3 days, got whooped in both of them. You saw players sharing helmets. You saw the ESPN broadcast crew actually on the broadcast talk about the fact that they were unable to find any recruiting information on all these players, despite the fact that Bishop Sycamore had said they had several Division I talents. I mean, the ESPN broadcast itself was calling out the weirdness of this whole situation during the actual game. Well, now this has continued to just, build steam, gain steam. You find out the head coach has a warrant that's active. You find out like half the team are JUCO guys that are just pretending to be in high school. I mean, that's all insane enough on its own. But they were scheduled to play again this weekend, and their upcoming opponent, Johnson Central, has announced that they will no longer be playing vaunted Bishop Sycamore. And they were also scheduled to play Texas powerhouse Duncanville. And Duncanville has now announced, despite the last 24 hours saying, no, the game's still on, Duncanville has finally announced that their game on September 10th against Bishop Sycamore has been canceled by Duncanville after the fallout from Sycamore duping ESPN to get on national TV. That were the exact words from the Dallas Morning News. And the Ohio governor has now announced that he has asked the Ohio Board of Education to conduct an investigation into Bishop Sycamore to ensure compliance with Ohio law and to ensure the school is providing the educational opportunities Ohio students deserve. So 2 upcoming games canceled, including one against national powerhouse Duncanville, which is a Texas blue blood. And now the governor is going to go to the Board of Education to look into this whole thing.
Well, they played 2 games in a week.
In 3 days, I think it was.
Yeah, in 3 days. The same quarterback played twice in spite of Bishop Sycamore claiming that they have 2 rosters like IMG. Basically, this Bishop Sycamore guy is trying to pretend like he's the North version of IMG Academy.
Yes.
I think that's what he's trying to do. And what he has on his team apparently are a bunch of JUCO dropouts. Yeah. And I was talking this with J.D. Piquel last night, and Armstrong was here. There was a guy in my high school who he was like 3 years ahead of me. And then for all the 3 years I was in high school after he graduated, the dude would literally come and hang out in the parking lot after school every day. And it was, I thought, the saddest thing I'd ever seen in my life. That has now been surpassed by guys trying to play high school football while they're after high school. And not only that, getting their asses absolutely handed to them by a team full of all the best players you want in the country. Yeah. Like a team that's literally recruited and built and can't play for state championships, that's just a factory for D1 colleges.
It's bizarre. Like, I don't know what the point of this is. Like, what is the point of the school? These guys aren't
someone getting their rocks off.
Yeah.
Somebody getting a feel good, but it always ends poorly. It always ends poorly. And I'm using a couple of examples. Remember, Texas had a player, football team, University of Texas, and this guy ended up being, what was he, like 30 or something?
Yeah.
Not one of those that came back, like a guy that had it was a weird story. Like, there's just...
Yeah, you don't remember that, Craig? The guy, he was back in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. This guy created a fake identity and came back and played for Texas, and he was 31 years old and completely out of eligibility.
And it wasn't that he had, like, served overseas or had played minor league baseball. I don't remember that for some reason,
Yeah, he was, like, 31 years old, and he came back and played. He gave him a fake name and walked on and played. Ron Weaver. Yeah.
Okay.
Ron Weaver.
The Great Imposter. Okay, I don't remember that at all for some reason. I'm gonna have to
send you a link
read
to this.
that. But I mean, you got a bunch of Ron Weavers out there. I mean, I'll tell you what, if they'd have thrown Wooderson in there at quarterback, I might have watched that. See old Matthew McConaughey. I mean, that's the guys you're talking about. Is the Woodersons. That's basically they got Woodersons playing high school football. But now their upcoming 2 games have been canceled, and now they're going to be, having the state's going to be looking into them. So we'll see where it goes from here for Bishop Sycamore. But it's not looking great.
I sent Reggie Samples, the head coach, the great head coach at Duncanville. Are you still going to play them? I never heard from him because he was probably on the phone trying to figure out with his AD, what are we going to do?
No kidding. I mean, and, ESPN just looks ridiculous in this whole thing. I can only imagine the conversations they've had behind the scenes about protocols and checklists and verifying, and I mean, they got the wool pulled totally over their eyes on this deal.
Tom Lungenbill said it during the broadcast, is they were supposed to have a conference call with the team on Thursday of the week or Wednesday, whenever they were, and Bishop Sycamore just didn't show up and sent them an email.
Yeah, they were just riffing on them at points during that game where it was just obvious that that something was just very fishy about this. So we'll see what happens. I can't even recall a story even close. I mean, you just gave me the example of a player doing this, but as far as a fake high school, a fake football team of JUCOs playing high school ball, JUCOs who are trying to pretend like they're recruits, but when they actually were recruits, had 0 offers across the board, basically.
We are seeing more and more ever
It's
since,
nuts.
and it's not so much like this, but Danny Almonte, was that the pitcher?
Yes, yeah.
There was the girl that did not run the full Boston Marathon or whatever, maybe in New York, whatever, snuck in the last 300 yards and acted like she won. I mean, it's just everything. Reality shows have created people wanting instant, not gratification. Well, maybe it is, but notoriety, no matter if it makes them look foolish or like idiots or not. It just happens all of the time.
There's some that believe the boomer generation, and I know they're easy pickings and people love to pick on them, but the parenting maybe went a little bit differently as far as having more self-interest and things like that, and you left kids to where they're more playing video games, entertaining themselves on their own or whatever, basically leading to a craving for attention.
Yeah.
And I do sense in the younger generation, I think if you talk to people who are 90, that they felt like when they were 40, kids who were 20 were attention seekers and whatever. But I think now with social media and just, that aspect of it, that there is this crave for attention, but it's not just younger people, it's older people too.
It's everybody.
It's insane how much people need attention. It's just bizarre, but they're getting the attention now, Bishop Sycamore, and they're going to get a lot more because I don't know when a high school story period has trended as much as this one has, and there's so many layers to it. It's just incredible. So a little bit of an update with NFL cuts. I wanted to be able to put together a list of Big 12 standouts that maybe didn't make it, but I just didn't have enough time to. But I will update you on Baylor players and cuts today.
Hold on, one more thing about what you were mentioning, just about that weirdness. Robert Spradley, I remember this story. The kid who signed to play at Cal over Oregon,
I remember that,
and had no offer from either program.
And he had a full signing press conference with the students there, with the teacher. I remember that vividly. Yeah. And he went through the whole thing until they found out. And I don't remember hearing anything about him after that. I'm sure he went into hiding a little bit. Yeah. But that was an attention thing, 100%.
Well, and the one I question the most in that is, I know there are coaches out there who don't really help their players get recruited all that much, but they at least know.
You don't know that Cal is trying to sign your guy?
Cal or Oregon is going to try to sign your guy? Come on.
Yeah, no, that's very true. So NFL cuts wise, here are some names who are no longer on active NFL rosters. Philly cut Philly cut Graylin Arnold.
Former Baylor, good hell of a player.
And he's been bouncing up and down. He'll probably end up back on their practice squad or something.
Or maybe with Charlotte or in.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Washington football team cut William Bradley King.
Former Baylor defensive man. Arkansas State, really.
Was their only draft pick last year, but he was mostly an Arkansas State guy.
I never thought he would make it, but good luck to him.
Panthers, this had to be tough for Matt Rule. Sam Tecklenburg, no longer on the roster.
Ouch! Yeah, because he brought him out of kind of retirement to, hey, come over. And he had Tech had a pretty good run of about a year or so. Mm-hmm. Good for him. to have that opportunity. He could always say he was a part of the league.
Yeah, he played in the NFL, and it was a part of a team for a whole year. And I don't think there was a ton of people that really thought that was probably in store for him until Rule came in and gave him that opportunity. So he made it probably longer than you would have expected.
And he's still practice squad eligible. So they could bring him back. And read an article, from one of the, beat writers. I like to read every different 53 cuts because I like to follow the guys that we know. And Tech was, if they keep 11 offensive linemen instead of 10, then it'd be Sam Tecklenburg, which leads me to believe that he'll probably be on their practice squad.
Probably be on their practice squad. I'm sure that was still a tough conversation for Rule to have, though, because that's a guy, that's the catch-22 of when you're in the NFL now and you've got guys that played for you in college to have to make that call on, whether or not they make the team.
I don't think he'll mind me sharing this note about Rule and NFL coaches, but I got a football in the mail from him on Friday. I didn't get it till I got home after our game in Austin. And I texted him. I said, thank you. Took a picture. I sent it to him. He said, keep grinding. And I didn't hear from him for 2 days. But this was the last week of the preseason. Of course, they're making cuts. And he sent me a text last night. He goes, we are wall-to-wall, hour around the clock right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
That is such a tough time right now. Although when you're making that kind of money, it's not too tough. But it is grind time, no question.
Jake Burton, who was a UCLA transfer to Baylor, he got cut by the Giants as well. So those were the handful of guys that all got cut today. But Kyle Fuller still with the Seahawks. Henry Black still with the Packers.
Good for him.
He's had an amazing run. You mentioned JaMychal Hasty earlier with the 49ers. Andrew Billings sticks with the Browns. Blake Lynch sticks with the Vikings. And Jalen Hurd makes the 49ers 53.
Now, see, I didn't think he would because he just hadn't played a lot. But he played this past weekend.
And
we saw a lot of highlights with Hasty, but good for Jalen Hurd. I always think he's gifted, very gifted, hell of a player in Tennessee, and then, of course, he left. And then was really good for Baylor that 1 year with Matt Rule.
Yeah, and this was one of the funnier or more interesting stories a couple of weeks back when South Carolina had the situation at quarterback where all of a sudden they were calling upon their grad assistant, Zeb Nolan, to come, play quarterback for the team. Well, he's going to be their starter this weekend.
Wow.
He's going to be the starter against Eastern Illinois. They announced that today. Luke Doty injured his left foot in the preseason, and he had been, the expected starter. He's close to 100% according to Beamer, but that's probably going to be more for next week against East Carolina. So, yeah, Zeb Nolan goes from grad assistant to all of a sudden starting quarterback week 1 for South Carolina. That's pretty cool.
Good for him.
Yeah,
good for him. That's
absolutely.
A great story.
That's awesome. So, let me see. I think I had one more thing here that I wanted to pass along, and this was from actually a little while ago. But there was I always bring up trading cards, and we made mention last week about the Topps run ending for Major League Baseball, and now Fanatics is scooping up everything. This is actually a couple weeks old, but I thought this was a really cool idea. There was a card that hit auction with 8 signatures on it, and what was really neat about this is it's not like 8 NFL stars or 8 MLB stars. It was autographs from Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Steph Curry, Errol Spence Jr., Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Chloe Kim. It was from Leaf Trading Cards, the only one of its kind ever created, and it was expected to sell here soon for $20,000, but I don't know how they came up with the idea of let's just slap together a bunch of different people from different sports, but that's a pretty salty list of people to have autographed card front and back of all those personalities. That's pretty sweet, and actually I think 20 is kind of a low ball for that one there. But there's a little trading card because I try to include that whenever there's something of interest. It was apparently given an 8 grade by Beckett. A perfect 10 has the sharp corners for the card traders out there. But, yeah, those are a few things that are off the radar.
I ruined most of it. You still had tons of stories. When we come back, David Hellman on the Cowboys Cuts from DallasCowboys.com. NFL Hall of Fame writer John McClain, 5:30. Paul's Top 5 in an hour. And this is Sikkim, 365 Radio. We'll have Dr. Gunn in studio on Thursday